I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, from a broken home. My dad left me, my mom, and my sister when I was about 5 years old. And I thought that was a normal lifestyle because all my cousins, their fathers were gone or they didn't know who their dads were. My aunts were never married, and even my grandma had like 3 marriages under her belt. Grew up in a pretty rough area down in government housing. You know, I thought life was good. As I was growing up, I got in some trouble here and there, making some bad decisions. My mom ended up remarrying a wonderful guy, but it wasn't my dad, so I never gave him the respect that he deserved. Got kicked out of school and sent across town, and during that time gangs were really bad in Tacoma, Washington, to where I would change my clothes on the bus so that I didn't cross over into other territories wearing the wrong color. 7th grade, I watched my friend get shot execution style behind a Round Table Pizza because he was wearing the wrong clothes. I barely graduated high school. I graduated high school just because the teachers liked me, because I was able to put on that front for the adults, but everybody else knew what I was doing and who I was. I started spiraling out of control, drinking. I became the party guy for where I was at. At the point where I almost didn't know the difference anymore. I was drinking so much that I lost my job. I didn't know what was going on, and the relationship with my parents was really bad. One day, out of the blue, I was at my friend's house, and all of a sudden the Marine Corps recruiter showed up, and he offered me a ride home, and he gave me a ride out to my parents' house, and he didn't ask me to join or anything, and when we got to the house, I asked him if I could join the Marine Corps. And while I was signing the papers, my dad walked in and said it was about time I did something with my life. And my mom, she was crying, telling me not to do it. And I just told both of them I hated them and stormed out of the house after I signed the papers. I was at graduation and I was standing there in formation and I heard somebody say, "There's my boy." And I turned around and it was my dad. I had tears in my eyes, and I'd never been so happy to see my family and tell them how sorry I was for everything that I had put them through growing up, and just thankful for everything that they had ever done for me. I got married to a woman I was dating back home in Las Vegas. Everything was good. We were partying, and then she decided she wanted to start going to church. I honestly think that's what ended our relationship. We ended up getting divorced about 2.5 years after we got married. I re-enlisted right after 9/11 happened, and I ended up getting orders to Chicago, where I ended up meeting my wife now. We were just living to live, kind of having fun, doing what we thought was right. When we moved to North Carolina, we had 2 kids at the time. One on the way, I got orders to go to Iraq. While I was in Iraq, my wife started going to church. Had all gotten saved, and I didn't even know what that was. While I was drinking Friday and Saturday night and sleeping in hungover on Sunday, my wife and kids were going to church. One Sunday morning, I was laying in bed, and my daughter Eden asked my wife, Christina, "Why doesn't Daddy go to church with us?" And my wife just told her, "Hey, Daddy's sick, he doesn't feel good." And my daughter Eden came over to me and said, "Don't worry, Daddy, I'll pray for you." I never jumped out of bed so fast in my life. Got in the shower, brushed my teeth on the way to church. I'm sitting in church and my kids get up for praise and worship, and they run up front and start dancing, and I'm trying to pull them back and tell them to sit down, and my wife's telling me, "No, it's okay," and I didn't understand it. You know, people are raising their hands, and where I came from, it was stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, and it was just kind of different. I just couldn't figure it out, why I could go to a club and dance around and raise my hands, but in church, I just sat there. And that's when I started asking questions and getting interested. But right when that happened, I got deployed again. I was gone for 7 months. When I came back, I went to the church and I went up front. Not even 3 weeks after that, the earthquake in Haiti happened and I got recalled, so I was only home for a month and I ended up in Haiti. While I was in Haiti, you know, I saw a lot of miracles happen and a lot of awesome things, and I knew there was a greater thing for me out there. But before I even got back on ship to leave Haiti, I had received orders to Okinawa, Japan. And when I called the monitor to change the actual reporting date because it was during my wife's due date, they said they couldn't do that, but they could send me to Hawaii. And we got excited about that and we jumped on that. And some of our friends have told us about this church, Word of Life Christian Center. I just remember walking in during praise and worship, Coco up on stage singing Fire in the House of the Lord. I started moving my head a little bit, and then they started singing it in Spanish and then in Samoan, and something I had never done in a church environment. And about 2 weeks later, on a Sunday, I raised my hand and went up front to get saved. I got consolidated by a life group leader, Brian Arakaki. Brian invited me to his life group. I ended up deploying about 4 months later. While I was in Afghanistan, Brian would send me all the weekly life group updates, and I would share them with some of my Marines, and I started getting bolder. I would pray for some of my Marines. I'd walk around, and if there were magazines that shouldn't be looked at, I would put my Bible on top of it so that they would have to move my Bible to look at the magazines, and my Bible usually stayed for a while. At the end of the deployment, I came back. I was really excited to open a life group. There was a baptismal that was in May, and I signed up for it right away, and I went to the baptism. Brian brought me over. Some of my friends came down for it, and it was just an awesome experience. That's when I decided to start living my life through him. Mine and my wife's lives kind of got on track together, and we got in alignment, and it just changed. Our marriage got way better. I mean, it was okay, but it was nothing like it is now. I just feel God really doing things in our lives, and I just know that none of this would be possible without Him. Once I decided to follow Jesus, I really saw the change in my life. He really opened my eyes to what He was doing for my family and what this church has done for us. He's just been pushing us to excel at everything we do, to include my promotion. It's going to put me 1.5 years ahead above all my peers. I've only been in the Marine Corps 15 years, and I'm getting promoted to first sergeant, and I know it's through Christ that all this is happening to my life, and it's just an amazing, amazing feeling. When I decided to follow Him, that's when my life changed, and it's been an amazing ride. We're just very grateful. My name is Keith Sandor, and I have decided.